We're going to let the Mimic build something today. Wow. Why don't you watch over his shoulder? We'll get something built. Alright, it's time for a new build. Gonna make something out of cardboard. Got some paper towel, toilet paper, medium cardboard, some packing paper, and some lightweight cardboard. And I just wanted to see what we could come up with. Take a little break from the foam. I'm going to use a craft knife throughout this. I don't cut myself, so don't worry about that. Let's just go ahead and get started. I'm going to trace out the base on that medium cardboard. I do want to use the cutout as a template, so I kind of left most of the boundaries there. Could have been a little bit more frugal with cardboard, but whatever. So get a miniature up there, kind of get the scale of this little hill that I want to build. And just start cutting out pieces to build up the topography. And then I'll start hot gluing all those pieces together. So I've got my hill laid out. Now this build is going to end up looking like it was made out of cardboard. I did my best to kind of blend it in and match my other terrain. And I'll show you a comparison to one of my other builds out of foam. And we can take a look at some of the differences here. I was making some boulders out of that packing paper. Kind of getting a flat spot on the bottom there and then putting on some hot glue. And just sticking it down. This is all kind of new territory for me. I've never done a cardboard build, so it was a pretty interesting experience, and the end product was interesting. Hanging a lot of that blade out there so I can get nice beveled cuts, get a little bit of contour on there. And I'm going to wet this piece out with a mixture of water and Mod Podge, and then I'm laying down one of those textured paper towels. The texture ended up not really playing too well in there, but the wrinkles were really interesting, and it gave me some ideas about how to make tree stumps with surface roots. So I might put some of these techniques into play on my next foam terrain build. That was satisfying. Just going to trim off the edges here. On those inside curves, can't quite get the scissors in there, so I'm going to use the craft knife to kind of clean that edge up. I wish I had done it from the other side. Kind of tore out a little spot there, but I patched up a little bit of white glue and just kept moving. Put a coating of black paint and Mod Podge over the whole piece. I'm really flowing that on to add some stiffness. Those boulders were still kind of mushy. Not wet, but just flexible. So I wanted to add a little bit more strength to the piece. Get all this done, and then we'll do some dry brushing. Back in familiar territory here with a dark gray and then a lighter gray, just to pick out some highlights. You can definitely tell now doing the dry brushing that's cardboard. You could use like Sculptamold or air dry clay, caulk would work in there, anything to kind of fill in those edges. I didn't really do that, so you can tell there at the end I could have spent a little bit more care in there, but I kind of wanted this to be a quick and easy kind of cheap build, and then I kind of ruined that by putting flocking and foliage on there. That stuff's not that cheap. But you could dry brush it and then put the washes on and then use the piece as is. I mean, it looks pretty good once the wash is dry. So that's a little burnt umber acrylic ink and then some green wash. And then I put a little rust wash on there, Vallejo rust wash, just to give a little splash of orange brown color. For most of my pieces I use a wet on wet technique, so just applying one layer of wash over the other, and then I'll let that dry and we'll start putting some flocking on this piece. I think if I had taken more care with the edges, filled those in a little bit, we might not have needed quite so much flocking, but it kind of works out. Like I say, this is new territory for me. I kind of wanted to stop and just make a regular foam build, but you know what? We don't learn anything that way. little bit of purple flocking in there just for color contrast. Let's put some foliage in here. A couple pieces of clump foliage go in. Gotta have places for our little critters to live. Little hill mice that live by this little spot need places to hide. Got some flowers. Put those in. Add a little color. One more little bush right here at the base of that rock, and then I'll spin it for you and you can get a closer look. There it is, the cardboard hill. I much prefer the foam, but it was an interesting process using the cardboard. Appreciate y'all watching. I'd love to hear some comments about this build. If anybody has any experience working with cardboard, I'd love to hear about it. Looks pretty good with miniatures on it. And I'll show you a comparison here with my previous build, the short rest build. I'll put a link to that here at the end of the video. Yeah, the foam definitely looks better, but the cardboard not so bad. Appreciate you watching another video. Make sure you leave me a comment. Love to hear from you. Thanks for watching.